In the quiet folds of the southern mountains of China, where morning mists floated over green hills like drifting silk, lived a humble man named Liang. He wasn't rich. He didn't speak much. But he had something most people didn't: a belief in things unseen. Liang inherited a small plot of land from his father, just enough to grow rice or vegetables like every other family in the village. But one day, after reading an old scroll in the temple about the strength and wisdom of the Chinese bamboo, Liang made a choice. He would plant bamboo, not for money, not for glory, but for the legacy he believed it could one day become. The village laughed. Rice feeds families, they said. Bamboo feeds dreams, and dreams don't cook dinner. But Liang only smiled, bowed respectfully, and began preparing the soil. That first year he dug with care, laid compost, watered every morning, and protected the plot from wind and wild animals. Each day he knelt and whispered, "Grow strong, even if I cannot see you." The land stayed quiet. The soil remained still. His neighbors harvested rice, stacked vegetables, fed their families. Liang? He had only dirt to show. His wife grew quiet too. She never said it out loud, but her eyes were full of worry. Their pantry was thinning. Their children were growing. His choice was becoming a burden. The second year, nothing grew. Not a single shoot broke the earth. Now the whispers started. Liang chasing ghosts. He thinks prayers will feed his family. The neighbors shaking their heads with pity. Children from the village began avoiding his plot like it was cursed. His own children started asking why they didn't have enough to eat. That year, a merchant offered to buy his land for double its value. Liang refused. The third year came. Rain, sun, effort, and still, nothing. Money was tighter than ever. His wife, her voice cracking, asked, "Please, just plant something we can eat. The children need food, not hope." But Liang knelt again at sunrise and whispered, "Grow strong. I believe in you." Inside, though, a storm raged. Each day he questioned himself. Was he wrong? Had he sacrificed his family's future for some silent promise in the soil? The ground gave no answers. Just wind. Just stillness. But something deeper than logic kept his hands steady. A whisper in his soul that said, "Not yet." But soon, in the fourth year, still no sign. No green, just brown dirt. Nothing changed. Some neighbors stopped speaking to him. Friends stopped asking how it was going. Others tried to help by offering him new seeds, urging him to give up. When storms came that winter, their homes were warm and full of food. Liang's was cold and dim. The walls creaked like old regrets. One night, after his children had gone to sleep, Liang stood in the field. Rain poured down. Mud clung to his knees. And he cried. Not because he'd failed, but because he had no way of knowing if he was right. Still in the dark, with no one watching, he whispered, "I'm still here." Then came the fifth year. Spring arrived quietly. The air warmed. Cherry blossoms bloomed. One morning, just after dawn, Liang's youngest son ran into the house yelling, "Father, come quickly! The earth is cracking." Lin rushed outside. There, rising from the soil like a promise fulfilled, was a single green shoot. Thin, fragile, but alive. Within days, another appeared, then another. And then, something strange happened. The shoots didn't grow slowly. They shot up. In 1 week, a meter tall. By the end of the month, taller than a man. By the 6th week, over 30 feet high. It grew taller than any plant in the village. Liang stood in his field, surrounded by towering green stalks that seemed to stretch into the clouds. The village gathered. People rubbed their eyes in disbelief. They asked him, "How did this happen so fast?" Liang looked at the grove, his eyes filled with quiet joy, and replied, "It didn't happen fast. For 5 years, the bamboo was growing underground, building roots, spreading strength where no one could see." He ran his fingers along one of the tall, slender stalks. The leaves rustled softly in the breeze, like whispers of time well spent. The grove had become more than a patch of earth. It became a symbol, a living story of unseen growth. People from distant towns came to visit. They walked the shaded paths, pausing under the cool canopy of green. Children played between the trunks, while the elderly sat on worn stones, their faces tilted toward the sunlight filtering through the leaves. They asked Liang about life, expecting secrets, shortcuts, maybe even wisdom wrapped in riddles. But he never bragged. He never scolded those who doubted. He simply smiled and shared what the bamboo had taught him. Patience is not waiting. It is trusting that your effort matters, even when the world sees nothing. Then he'd look out at the grove and add, "You water the earth for years and see only dirt." But beneath that stillness, something unshakable is growing. One day, it breaks through, and it doesn't stop. And in that moment, something would shift in his listeners. Not in words, but in posture, in breath. They left the grove a little quieter, a little stronger, and somehow, a little more willing to believe in things that grow slow. Farmers began planting slower crops. Young people stopped rushing to become legends before learning who they were. And Liang, now older and quieter than ever, would sometimes sit among the towering stalks, listening to the wind dance through the leaves. His son, now grown, once asked him, "How did you know to keep going?" Liang smiled and said, "I didn't. I just chose not to stop." Years later, when Liang passed away, they buried him beneath the bamboo grove. And above his grave, someone carved a single line into a stone. "Not all growth can be seen, but all roots matter."